The reason number one is so important is because the narcissist simply cannot change. He or she tends to be hardwired to see the world the way they see it, to respond accordingly the way that they do, and they really don't have a choice. But to the neurotypical person who is not a narcissist or not deeply into, or I should say, deeply embraced by narcissism, we do have a choice to be empathetic. So, number one is we have the power of empathy. That is something that the narcissist does not have. Now, when we talk about empathy, we're talking about effective empathy. That is to say, the ability to have affection, to care, genuinely care about people. But the narcissist, not so. A person who is truly a narcissist cares about one thing and one thing only, and that is feeding their ego. It's almost like a science fiction movie. They can't help it. They're stuck in that rut. They're stuck in that trap. They are without power to get outside of it, so they can fake empathy. I mean, they're really good at that. Well, you know that because the narcissist in your life, remember when you first met this person? You thought this was the greatest guy, greatest girl on the planet. Now, it may have been a love interest. I don't know. It may have been a friendship. Could have been somebody, a coworker that you thought, man, we have chemistry. We're hitting it off. Then you found out, no, they were faking it. Because they don't have the power of empathy, the power to genuinely care. So they have no choice. They got to fake it. They got to manipulate people so that they can get supply. But you have that power. They don't have the power of empathy. Number two is you have the power, what I call the power to make the call. That is to say, you have the power of decision making. Now, we're going to get into this a little bit more in just a moment, but, the narcissist really can't help but to do and to be what he or she is doing and being. So they really can't walk away the way that you can. So you have the power, the ability to do that. Now, the narcissist can walk away from you, and, well, bad news is eventually they're going to because they're going to find somebody else. Few exceptions to that rule. But you can walk away anytime you want. The challenge for most of us who are victimized by narcissists is just realizing that we need to walk away, to realize the depth of the problem that we're in. Understanding, look, this is serious. This guy or this woman is going to hurt me and hurt others around me. So I need to get out of this. But usually it's, maybe not usually, but often it's too late. The damage is already done. Because, well, the narcissist is a good actor. They fooled us. We don't know we are in danger until it's too late. But we do have that power of choice. The power, I should say, to make the call to walk away whenever we want. Number three is we have the power of boundaries. Now, something you know about narcissists, that is, if you've been watching my videos in the past, you know that there's something about narcissists is they think rules are for everyone else. Well, that has a flip side to it, in that they tend not to have boundaries. Now, they have something akin to boundaries, but they're really exposed, and they don't know what to do about it. So what they do is, without boundaries, is they become hypersensitive. So you notice that virtually every narcissist that you've ever encountered has been extremely sensitive to any kind of rejection or criticism. Doesn't matter how trivial it is. So think of a narcissist as a turtle without a shell. I mean, doesn't have that outside protection. Or if you want, think of a snail without a shell. However you want to think of this. But the narcissist is lost or never did have that outer protection. So they're hypersensitive. They don't have boundaries. So that is why you're going to find that anytime and every time you challenge a narcissist, they always react, usually with hostility. Maybe they will react with repercussion or something. They fight back. But you have the ability to have boundaries. You can keep the narcissist as far away from you as is reasonably possible. And we all know that reasonably possible sometimes involves family members. If you are in that not so envious position of being married to a narcissist, it's going to be a little tough to get away from them, right? And if they're a family member, if it's a coworker, somebody that you have to see on almost a daily basis, your boundaries are going to be kind of limited because you can't just totally, completely, 100% walk away. But keep in mind the one power that you have, let's call it a superpower, that you have that most narcissists do not have, is you have the power of boundaries. The narcissist has no shell. They're just totally exposed all the time, and they know it. So they are always in this perennial state of trying to defend themselves, trying to protect themselves. Number 4 is you have the power of bond breaking. Now, we alluded to this a moment ago, but again, you can walk away anytime you want to. The narcissist can't do that. Now, the narcissist can walk away from you, as we said earlier, and probably will. I mean, they almost always do, but they always have to have that bond. They always have to be tied to somebody. They always have to have supply coming in because, well, they need it. Boosting their ego, inflating their ego is what a narcissist fundamentally lives for. That's what they do. I mean, that's their entire life. Some of these people that I have known, and I'm nearly 70 years old, I've learned a thing or two. One of the reasons I do these videos is just to share with you some of the things that I have learned in life's laboratory, and maybe I can help you along the way. Doesn't matter how old you are. You could be a kid, you could be a teen, you could be a young adult, middle-aged adult, older adult. I've been there, I've gone through something very similar to what you're going through now. So I want to share with you some of those things that I have gone through. And one of the things that I've learned is that narcissists can't break bonds. I mean, he can break individual bonds. She can break individual bonds. But she always has to be, or he always has to be tied to somebody all the time to get that supply. When I say supply, I'm talking about anything and everything that will boost their ego. But the point that I was making is that I've known some narcissists over my many decades who don't have jobs. Not because they're not qualified, not because they can't work, not because they're not gifted people, but because they're so dependent upon feeding their ego that that comes before work. I know some people who are narcissists, well, I know many of them, who have a difficult time holding down, having a place of residence. They just, basically say they're homeless. They usually have a place to live, which they'll stay for a few months, and they just kind of milk off people. They just take supply off people because they have to have that dependence fed all the time. So they are bound to that. They can't get away from it. So you have the power of breaking those bonds. And number 5 is you have the power, and this is very similar, you have the power to move on. You can get away, you can keep going, you can live a life without that bondage. The narcissist is always bound. The narcissist has no change. Bound to different people time to time, but always going from one to the other. But you have the freedom, you have the power that you can get away from narcissists. Again, work relationship, family, whatever. You're going to always be around these people, but you don't have to have that tight-knit bond with them. They have to have the bond, always. You have a choice. You have the power to break the bonds, to move on, to get on with your life, to build a life, to do basically whatever you have a talent and gifts to do. Number 6 is you have the power to learn from life's experiences. Unfortunately, the narcissist, or those narcissists that I have met, as I understand true narcissism, they simply do not have the power to learn from life's experiences. It's like they are set in stone. They're hardwired. This is the way they came from the factory, and they don't change. Factory, I should say. This is the way they were born. From the mother's womb. Okay, the womb is the factory. This is the way they are. They cannot learn from life's experiences. Doesn't matter how tough life gets, they're still going to be a narcissist. Doesn't matter how many times people get in their face, and sometimes I've seen narcissists, seriously, people would scream at them. I mean, literally scream at them because they are so frustrating, because they are so selfish. It has no impact on them whatsoever. They just can't learn. I know these people who have been incarcerated, and they may be let out of jail for a short period of time, conditional release, and they don't go by the conditions, so they wind up right back in jail because, well, they just can't learn. Put these people in jail, they don't learn from it. Sue these people, they don't learn from it. Prosecute these people in a court of law, they don't learn from it. They can't not be what they are. You, on the other hand, have the power to learn. You have the power to grow. That is why I say many times that a narcissist is emotionally, they're 11-year-olds. They just, it's like they hit a glass ceiling, 11 years old. Now, maybe, they may be, many times they're intellectually, some of them are actually geniuses. Most of them that I have met, average IQ, but some of them really smart people. But emotionally, I have never met a narcissist who had an emotional equivalence above about 11-year-old. They just, they're just children emotionally. See those two rectangles on the screen? If you like what you see, just click one of those rectangles and we'll keep on talking together. But if not, thank you for stopping by, and we'll talk to y'all later.